Every week, millions of people move home, and as it's one of the most stressful things that you'll do in life, you need to get it right. I'm Rebecca Jane, and together with the region's best property experts, we'll be giving you some top tips and expert advice, shining a spotlight on a different area from across the Midlands, and getting to know a little more about our guests and what they look for in a home. Property is ever evolving and always a fascinating subject. We'll guide you on what you need to know and what you need to look out for here on Midlands at Home. Hello and welcome to Midlands at Home. On today's show, we'll be talking about holiday lets overseas. And if you ever considered leaving British soil and living an expat life, then we'll be talking about the top 6 places to live outside of the UK. My guest today is Matthew Moore from Edwardsmoor. Matthew, welcome back.
Hello again, how are you?
You've been here a few times.
I have indeed, yes, it's good.
Yeah, and then last time you came, we were talking about holiday lets in the UK because you have a place in Salcombe. Correct. Always popular, I think, with people to maybe, rather than always spending out on holidays, to invest and to get a place that you can perhaps rent out. Absolutely. And Salcombe, you know, is quite a popular place. It came in, I think, last time when we spoke about it in the top 10, didn't it? It did, definitely. It was beautiful. I was down there last week and the weather was very kind to us, to say the least. Yes, the summer's finally here. Absolutely, yeah. There's nowhere better, really, when the sun shines, in my opinion. It's beautiful and the kids love it, and there's everything laid on for the kids, so just ideal in that respect. Definitely. I think England, when the weather is good, there is no better place. When the sun is shining, it's very pretty, isn't it? Very picturesque. It is. I mean, particularly Devon and Cornwall, the coastline down there is just delightful, and you feel like you're a million miles away, really, and you're only a few hours up the M5. That's it. But I suppose when you talk coastline and we talk about location, whether it's location sort of around the Midlands, whether you're talking about that holiday let, you're going to pay a premium, aren't you? If you've got that ocean view, or if you're close to that little seaside town, you are going to pay a little bit more for that. Absolutely, because again, you're competing against people who are from London. You look at Salcombe, for instance, and the prices of property in Salcombe, and really it's London prices almost. Yes. Because it's people who have got property in London and use it as a bolt hole. So there's a limited amount of coastline in this country and they can't increase it. No. So because of that, supply and demand dictates that really more and more people want that view of the sea or an estuary or a beach or whatever it is. So they will pay that bit extra for it, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Now, recently, we've just done a big family holiday that we waited years to do in Florida, and my parents got a villa out in Florida, and the place that we stayed, the compound as such, all the villas were owned, you know, sort of from sort of UK and whatnot. And I think looking overseas, there is either Europe or you can go further afield like the States, but actually it's really popular. There's a lot of Brits that might have places perhaps in the States for holiday lets. Absolutely, yes, indeed. And again, you look at the value of property in America, for instance, and because they're not short of land, it means that the values are very good. You get a big property, don't you, for your money? An awful lot of property for your money, yeah, definitely. And particularly Florida, I mean, it's 10 hours on a 10-hour flight. That's so it. Although it's not necessarily used for weekends, people will use it for a week here and there. And yeah, if you're renting it out, then it's just perfect because there's always a demand, because you've got so many attractions over there, of course. That's it. And swimming pools tend to be standard. And I think us Brits, we think, oh, how lovely that you've got a place in the sun, you've got your own swimming pool, and it hasn't cost the earth. You know, you can get a lot of property, like you said, for your money in Florida. You certainly can do. And again, going back to what we talked about with rentals and yields and what have you, the yields are fairly good in that respect, of course. So yeah, from an investment point of view, you're not going to get the capital growth though, because again, because of the amount of land, you won't see the house prices necessarily increase as much as you will in other areas such as the UK, where we tend to see quite dramatic house price increases over short periods of time, depending on the economy, of course. Yeah, and I suppose you've got to look at that, haven't you? If you're buying a place further afield, like the States, you are going to have some weeks where it might not be, vacant. So you've got to look at that it's going to cover that. And I suppose, because rents are that little bit more, that you tend to find, I suppose, it hopefully works itself out quite evenly along the way. Yes, indeed. Again, the climate in America is very conducive in that respect. So you can go all year round. Well, Florida, I should say, not necessarily the whole of America, but you can certainly go all year round to Florida. December, January, it's very temperate. The Sunshine States, it's always lovely there, isn't it? Exactly, very much so. So yeah, you'll find that you will have arguably more demand than you will for a rental property in the UK, where really you've only got
13 weeks or so, which are the main weeks to go out, which are the main school holiday weeks, really.
And of course, the other place, Europe. Very, very popular to have a holiday let in Europe, Spain, France.
Absolutely, yeah. We had great success selling property, particularly in Spain, but Bulgaria, Cyprus, Portugal, all over Europe, really, back in the good old days before 2007.
Yes.
And there were an awful lot of people who bought properties specifically in order to rent them out for holiday lets. And again, I think they've performed fairly well even through the downturn as far as the rentals are concerned.
Yeah.
Again, values are a lot lower, generally speaking, particularly in Spain. Greece, obviously, is going through certain issues at the moment. So if you bought in Greece, then you might find that your property's not worth what you paid for it in 2006 or 7 necessarily. But people are still going on holidays.
Yeah.
And although the flights have changed to a certain extent, so you're not necessarily getting the penny flights that we were 10 years or so ago, it's still reasonable. And in Europe, you can pop out there for a weekend, which is the great thing about it.
Yeah, that's the beauty, isn't it? If you want to escape, you want a nice bit of sunshine, it's not too far away. If you've got kids, you can go for that long weekend. That is the beauty, isn't it, of Europe and France.
Definitely. Golf holidays are very popular as well, where people will rent people's villas and what have you, particularly if they're well located for a number of golf courses. Stag do's, hen do's, all sorts of things really in that respect.
And are you finding in Spain, obviously, we spoke about 2007 and the crash, and there was a lot of empty properties in Spain. Is that still the case?
It is. How the economy reacted over there was probably slightly different to over here, because they built an awful lot of units very quickly, of course, and the bank financed those units. Basically, the banks, when they foreclosed on the builders, they just closed down the developments. Oh, right. So I remember a number of television programmes, such as Top Gear, for instance, which did a feature, and it was in a deserted town, and everything was set up. There was a police station, there was a hospital, there was an airport, everything was there, but they just closed down on it, and that's in the Costa del Sol, which, you know, everybody aspires to go to the Costa del Sol, and everybody likes it, really. So, yes, there are still a number of empty units, but it is noticeable that the cranes have started to appear again, from what I understand. So, which is great. They're starting to build, they're starting to put more money into it, because the one thing that they did very well over there was improve the infrastructure. So the roads were fantastic. Again, they built the airports, the hospitals. So it was able to take the capacity, if you like. So really, I think it's only a matter of time until things start to pick up again over there. Yeah,
so perhaps now might be quite a good time, if you're looking at a holiday, to look at something like Spain, when it's slowly getting now, perhaps, as opposed to a few years down the line when, you know, prices may go up, may not, but they may go up a little bit. So maybe now's a good time.
I think so. I think the economy can only really go in one way, when it's rock bottom, if you like.
And things are starting to pick up, aren't they? Generally, you know, we're seeing a lot of movement.
Absolutely, yeah, across the board, really. I think we're quite fortunate in this country. You know, we've probably come out of it a little bit earlier than many of our European neighbours. But again, in Spain, I think they're starting to see things pick up again. There's been a lot of changes to their bureaucracy and what have you, so it's improved matters for them, and will probably make it easier for Brits to invest over there and either move over completely or buy buy-to-lets, etc.
And what would be your advice then, if you're going to purchase? Because I think it's a daunting experience. If you've never done it before, you'd love a place in the sun. What would be your advice, Europe, anywhere, if you're going to get a holiday let? How do we start? Where do we start from?
There's lots of different ways of doing it. You can go out there, find an agent, find a property.
So get an agent that's specific for that area.
Yeah. Again, from my point of view, we still have an overseas department in our office, for instance, so we've got a number of contacts over there. Generally speaking, they're English, or they certainly speak English, and they will use English-speaking lawyers.
Brilliant.
We also have lawyers in this country who understand the process and understand the law, or certainly have contacts that they can deal with in that respect.
Big decision. You want to get it right.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Now, France came up as one of the best places, didn't it, to sort of get a holiday rental.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, absolutely. Again, a lot of people will go to France because it's drivable, of course, and you've got so many easy and cheap ways to get there. We had some friends who lived in France, and we just pack up the car and off we drive and get on the Channel Tunnel, of course, and you're there in no time, really.
Yeah.
So you can understand why it's so popular. A beautiful country, and the roads are generally a lot clearer than we have over here, of course.
Yes, very true.
So, but it is a different way of buying and selling property in France than over here.
And different to Spain, I suppose, as well?
Absolutely, yes, indeed. So, again, I haven't got quite as much experience as far as France is concerned because it's almost a closed shop in that respect.
Yeah.
They look after it themselves very much so. I know a number of people who have tried to sell properties recently, and you use the local agent, and I don't think they quite use the internet that we use the internet over here. I'm generalising, but you know, be very careful that you know what you're walking into if you do go and buy in France, to make sure that you can offload it when you've had enough of the place, basically.
Absolutely. Now, you're joining us after the break. Now, apparently 400 Brits emigrate every single day, and coming up after the break, we'll be finding out the top 6 places to live. So I'll see you in just a few minutes. This week's spotlight area is Dorridge. Dorridge is a large village in the West Midlands borough of Solihull, with a population of approximately 7,800 residents. Dorridge is to the east of the M40 and south of the M42. The village of Dorridge did not exist as a community until the mid-19th century. Around the start of the 19th century, much of what is now Knollwood Road was farmland with just a few dwellings. Similarly, Avenue Road had a handful of dwellings, and by the 1930s, the main Dorridge Triangle was properly established. Dorridge is an affluent area. The properties in general are of great size, with well-spaced back gardens. The architecture varies dependent on the era in which they were built. There are some fine buildings from the Victorian era and some classic Art Deco houses too. Dorridge sits right next to the Warwickshire countryside, with green fields and being only a short walk away from the town centre, where you'll find a small shopping centre, a village hall, at least 3 churches, and also an excellent primary school, Dorridge Junior School, which was the first school to be built in the village. There is a substantial park bordering the countryside, a few small restaurants, and 3 pubs: the Railway Inn, incidentally nowhere near the railway, the Forest Hotel, right next to the railway, and the Drum and Monkey near the Four Ashes estate. There are various celebrities who have resided over the years in Dorridge or nearby, to include Jasper Carrott, Karen Brady, Steve Bruce, Bev Bevan, and many other professional footballers and musicians. With a village community, great schooling, easy access to the M42 and the airport, as well as the train links offering easy travel into Birmingham and London, it's clear to see why Dorridge is a popular choice to live. Doesn't England always look so beautiful when the sun is shining? What a difference it makes.
It certainly does. It certainly
We've had, sunshine for the last 4 days, and summer's been and gone, I think.
Yeah,
hopefully it's going to come back. Now, when we talk of lovely areas like Dorridge, there's a premium, isn't there, when you've got, it ticks the boxes of schooling, transport links, it's a village. You know, you can get to Birmingham, you can get to London because of the train. Do you find with holiday lets, if you're going to live by the sea, again, you might be paying that little bit more, but perhaps you're going to get that little bit more in terms of rental?
Any property purchase, the 3 most important things you look at is location, location and location.
Yeah.
And I think that applies across the board, to be honest with
Doesn't
you.
it?
If you're looking for a buy-to-let in this country, if you're looking for a holiday let, if you're looking for your own home, you know, the location is always the key. Always the key.
Always quite important to remember that in terms of investment, like you said as well.
Definitely.
Now, the top 10 overseas holiday homes. This is what came out. France, we spoke about before the break, came out on top. France, Spain, USA, Cyprus, Portugal, Turkey, Greece, Italy, Australia and Bulgaria. So that's what came out in the top 10. I think there's no huge surprises there, actually.
All very nice climates, of course, and all very nice coastlines as well, generally speaking. So yeah, I think that was pretty much along the lines of what I would have expected.
Yeah, and I think especially with the places in Europe, it is nice to be able to have that quick getaway. You want to go away for the weekend, have a bit of sunshine when it is maybe a little bit colder in the UK. It's nice to have that escape, isn't it?
And a lot of people who are retired will buy in Spain or somewhere like that, and they'll maybe spend 3 weeks at a time, come back for a week, particularly during the colder weather in the winter, of course. The one that surprised me really was Australia, and I wonder whether it's because people have got family over there.
Maybe it's a long way to go, isn't it?
It is a long way to go, and a long way to invest money as well, to be fair.
And maybe with these holiday lets, it's a way of, we're going to talk about emigration now, but people get that little taster, don't they? They think the grass is greener, they go for that little holiday and they think, oh, do you know what, I'd quite like to live here. Because apparently 400 Brits emigrate every single day. Now, I suppose in the UK, living costs, life can be a bit stressful. Like I said, the grass always seems a bit greener. You can see why a lot of people do consider having a totally different lifestyle and making a big move abroad.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, a lot of people will move for work as well, of course. Work will move them.
Yes, and they'll pay all the costs for the move as well. So.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a lot of friends at the moment who seem to be going here, there and wherever. So it's all about circumstances as much as anything. But my brother-in-law moved to Australia 7 years ago and hasn't been back since.
Oh, really?
So he loves it out there. The standard of living that he has exceeds what he had over here as far as he's concerned.
So why would you come back?
Absolutely. The kids are thriving, which is the main thing. So it's horses for courses, really. I don't know whether I could do it, but
we did it in 2007, moved over to Dubai for 2 years. Was doing shows and pantomimes and all sorts of crazy stuff, but it was great fun. It was really interesting, just lovely people, sunshine all the time. My little boy was only 2 at the time, so we'd have play dates on the beach and just always have all the picnic blankets in the boot, and it was just a great way of life for a couple of years. Wouldn't have stayed any longer, but you know, it was lovely to do and to experience it. And it was a big upheaval. You know, we had all the move paid for and everything to go out there, but it's a big step. But you can see why people do consider it.
Did you rent out there?
Just rented out there.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, although, you know, Dubai actually did come in as one of the places that a lot of people are moving to from the UK, but living costs were crazy, like 2-bed apartments, you know, sort of more than London.
Really?
So although it's tax-free, you kind of look at how much you spend. If you had a drink, it might be where it might cost you, this was back then, so £3 here.
Yeah.
It would cost maybe £8 in Dubai. So, you know, yeah, it's tax-free, but really, are you saving? You've got to...
And quite a different culture as well over there.
Very different culture.
Whereas some of the European countries will be a lot closer to our culture, I suppose. So a big upheaval in that respect, particularly with the kids, etc.
Yeah, definitely. So have you had any friends that have moved overseas or made that?
Yes, well, I've... got some friends who had moved to France. They moved back to London for a period of time. They lived in Paris, in a number of beautiful places, and again, we used to enjoy going to see them and going to do all the touristy things in Paris, which was fantastic. But they're next month, hopefully going to Los Angeles.
Very nice,
so
very glamorous.
A big change, yeah, indeed. So once I can get my wife onto an aeroplane, then we'll be going out to see them, which will be fantastic.
Definitely. Oh, yes, you've got to convince her there, haven't you?
Definitely.
Just escape to LA, you've got free accommodation.
Yeah, very much so. So, yeah, we've got some other people who have moved to... a lad who worked for us during the good old days. Again, he left us when things got a little bit harder. He's now a recruitment consultant. He's lived in Dubai. He's lived in Abu Dhabi.
Yes.
But Chris Edwards, my business partner's brother, he lived in Abu Dhabi for a while. So... I think it's becoming a lot easier and a lot more commonplace, really, these days for people to look at alternatives apart from this country.
That's it. It's very attractive when you've got the salary, you've got the living, you've got the education. You know, if it ticks all those boxes, it's very tempting.
And the weather.
And the weather. That's very true. And now, the top 6 places that Brits are emigrating to. 400 Brits, remember, emigrate every single day. New Zealand. Now, that's one that we haven't spoken about just yet, but very popular, very beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
And very affordable. I think you can get a lot of land in New Zealand. Certainly an attractive place to live, although far away. Canada's come out on top. Again, you know, a great lifestyle in Canada. Australia that we've mentioned. I've got quite a few people that I've known that have gone over to Australia. just the distance thing, isn't it? Other side of the world with family, because you know that's something to talk about really. With it was hard me living away from my mum. She'd come over sort of every 6 to 8 weeks and have a holiday, but very hard away from family when you're that far.
Definitely.
Spain, always popular, whether it's holiday or whether you're going to sort of make that big move.
Yeah.
Dubai's come out top 6, and France.
Very good.
So they were the top places. What would be your top 3 tips if you're going to emigrate? And I suppose, you know, you've got, what would be your top 3 tips on somebody making that move?
I think make sure you're getting the correct advice, not only with regards to the property that you're going to move into, but particularly finances and what have you. Make sure you understand the health systems, make sure you understand pensions. All these things have got to be considered to make sure that you secure your future.
Yeah, not to get carried away, because you can just, you know, think with your heart and think, oh, amazing, I'm going to go and live in the sunshine, I'm going to go and do this, but actually be realistic. Maybe go to the place, would you say, a few times as well?
I would be inclined to do that, personally.
I had a friend once that didn't. Have you ever been? No, never been, but I've got this, you know, amazing offer. And off they went. They went to Australia, from Dubai to Australia, and they hadn't visited.
Well, my brother-in-law went to Perth 7 years ago, and they'd never been.
Wow.
They'd seen pictures, they didn't know anybody over there. They literally just went on a wing and a prayer, and it suited them, which was fantastic, really. I think I probably want to make sure that I know a little bit more about it before I go. But again, everybody's different, aren't they? So, but no, my personal advice would probably be to check it out as much as possible. Know what you're stepping into.
Yeah.
Try it if you like.
Yeah, that's it. Maybe go for that holiday. A bit of an excuse, isn't it? You're going to go away for a holiday for a week or 2.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's what we did. We went to Dubai, went on a holiday, and then sort of, you know, it was 4 months later, did the big move. So you can turn it around quite quick, can't you?
Yeah. Did you find when you went to Dubai that you lived the dream, if you like, or did you find that you were back in the same old routine of working and what have you, and not seeing what you wanted to see?
Yeah, no, you know, totally different lifestyle. For 2 years, an entirely different lifestyle. Would you want to live there permanently? I think it's one of those places people pass through a lot.
Yeah.
But certainly interesting.
An experience.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us.
That's a pleasure.
We shall see you soon.
Excellent.
You take care.
Okay.
Look forward to seeing you for more next week on Midlands at Home. You take care.